The average man is governed by chaos, enslaved by impulse, and betrayed by his own emotions. He does not know it, but he is at war not with the world, but with himself. And until he makes peace within, he will remain poor, confused, bitter, and beneath the level of greatness that nature intended for him. Wealth is not found in money first, nor in property, nor in favorable conditions. Wealth begins in stillness, in the quiet dominion of a man who has mastered his own soul. I tell you today that if you give me 90 days, not for labor, not for sacrifice, not for outward exertion, but for the construction of an inner kingdom, then you shall unlock a vault within you so potent, so precise, and so profitable, that the riches of the outer world will begin to chase you. For he who rules his emotions rules his destiny, and he who commands his thoughts holds in his hands the very blueprint of fortune. There is a reason why 97 out of 100 men will die poor. It is not because they lacked opportunity, nor because they lacked ambition. It is because they never learned to detach. They never learned to separate the flame of emotion from the oil of reason. They allowed their anger to speak when their strategy should have answered. They allowed their fears to dictate when their faith should have walked forward. They allowed noise, gossip, hunger, lust, anxiety, and the opinions of fools to penetrate the one chamber that must remain sacred, the chamber of the mind. But you are not average. You would not be listening if you were. The average man has already left the room. The average man fears silence. The average man cannot go 3 days without emotional attachment to something, to someone, to drama, to the craving of validation. But you are here. And if you are here, it is because your soul is ready to rise. I am not here to entertain you. I am here to awaken you, to pierce the veil of your old habits and speak directly to that part of you which already knows. The world you live in is nothing but the mirror of your own mental climate. If your thoughts are scattered, your results will be scattered. If your emotions are erratic, your outcomes will be erratic. But if your mind is fixed, your emotions silent, and your purpose definite, then the gates of wealth, not only financial but spiritual and personal, shall swing open before you. What is emotional detachment? It is not apathy. It is not indifference. Emotional detachment is the mastery of response. It is the ability to look into chaos and remain unmoved. It is the power to hear criticism and not flinch, to receive betrayal and not waver, to encounter fear and not obey. The man who detaches is not without feeling. He is simply above being ruled by feelings. Consider the lion. When threatened, he does not panic. He observes, he calculates, he waits, and when he strikes, he does so with clarity, not frenzy. The lion's power is not in his roar, it is in his restraint. So too must you learn the art of restraint, for emotional reaction is the signature of the undisciplined, the mark of the man who has not yet taken hold of his crown. You say you want wealth, but do you command yourself first? Can you sit for an hour without reaching for distraction? Can you speak to others without seeking approval? Can you wake in the morning and hold yourself to a standard even when no one is watching? That is wealth. Wealth begins in self-sovereignty. For the next 90 days, I challenge you to begin a process not of doing, but of becoming. You must become the type of person to whom wealth naturally flows, not because you chase it, but because you embody its laws. You must transform your mind into a temple, not a marketplace of every wandering emotion. You must become unavailable to the weakness of impulse, the need for external validation, the seduction of ease. Discipline is your new language. Detachment is your new armor. Clarity is your new sword. The first law is this: every man must have a definite purpose. Without a chief aim, the mind will fracture. And with a fractured mind, no wealth, no focus, no consistency can endure. You must write your purpose with the authority of a general commanding an army. Vague goals produce vague outcomes, but a definite goal, repeated daily with emotional neutrality, builds power. Say it aloud each morning. Let it be burned into your subconscious until your very breath begins to move in rhythm with it. The second law is this: master your response and you master the world. Every act of anger, every emotional outburst, every moment of fear-based reaction robs you of your power. Do not react. Respond. Do not rush. Observe. The calm mind sees 10 moves ahead. The anxious mind sees only its current discomfort. To detach is to reclaim your foresight, your vision, your leadership. The third law: Emotion must be governed by thought, and thought must be filtered by truth. You are not your emotions. Emotions are energy's signals, but signals are not commands. You must become a commander of yourself, not a slave to your internal weather. When you feel fear, interrogate it. When you feel anger, trace its origin. When you feel excitement, measure it against your principles. The emotionally undisciplined man is easily manipulated, easily distracted, and easily destroyed. But the man who sees emotion as feedback, not fact, is untouchable. You ask, how can I detach when life is chaotic? I say, the external world is never the problem. The storm is not in the wind, it is in your perception of it. A chaotic world is the perfect training ground for a still mind. You must learn to stand in the fire and feel nothing but resolve. You must learn to sit among fools and remain unmoved by their noise. You must learn to delay gratification, to hear no and say, I will still proceed, to hear laughter and say, I will still rise. This is detachment. This is wealth. And when you begin to do this, when you begin to discipline your emotions, to clarify your thoughts, to silence your reactions, you will begin to notice something miraculous. Time slows down. Opportunities become visible. People begin to trust you without knowing why. Doors open without being knocked upon. Why? Because nature rewards order. The universe is drawn to stillness. The world bows before the man who needs nothing, who fears nothing, who reacts to nothing, and who acts with principle, always. You must now construct habits that support this way of life. Rise early, speak little, observe more, cut off unnecessary inputs, eliminate complaining, replace desire with decision, replace reaction with ritual. When others gossip, you plan. When others panic, you breathe. When others waste time, you build. Do this for 90 days, relentlessly, quietly, obsessively, and you will become unrecognizable. You are not here to be ruled. You are here to rise. You are not here to please. You are here to create. You are not here to react. You are here to command. If you master your inner world, your emotions, your impulses, your distractions, then the outer world will have no choice but to obey. Wealth, relationships, respect, clarity, they will all be drawn to you not by pursuit, but by the gravity of who you have become. And so I say again, give me 90 days, lock in, turn inward, think deeply, feel wisely, act slowly, and become ruthlessly committed to your own mental command. For if you do this, you will step into a level of power that cannot be bought, borrowed, or bestowed. It must be built, and when it is built, it cannot be shaken. The man who detaches, who disciplines, who controls his mind, that man is free. That man is dangerous. That man is rich in wisdom, in peace, in results, and in influence. Be that man. You must now understand the law of mental neutrality. This is not passivity. It is a power state. To be mentally neutral is to observe all that occurs without internal distortion. You no longer label an event as bad or good. You label it as data. And when life becomes data, you gain the power to act from strategy rather than sensation. The man who is neutral is free to move with precision. He is not slowed down by offense, anger, or even praise. He walks through storms and compliments with the same expression, calm, focused, and unshaken. Do you know why most men will never achieve greatness? Because they refuse to sit with themselves. They believe discipline is hard, but I tell you, undiscipline is harder. Chaos is harder. Poverty is harder. To be at the mercy of your impulses is the ultimate suffering. Discipline is the ultimate freedom. The man who cannot control himself will be controlled by others, by advertisers, by trends, by peer pressure, by fear. But the man who has chosen self-command is a sovereign nation. And no external force can occupy a mind that has declared independence from emotional tyranny. It is now time to practice the principle of thought first. Before you feel, before you speak, before you act, you must think. You must develop the habit of thinking so deeply, so clearly, that every word you utter carries weight. Think like a philosopher, speak like a judge, act like a general, thought before feeling, thought before movement, thought before reaction. For what is wealth if not the compounding of well-directed thought into precise action? Let us explore this. You are not behind in life, you are only behind in thought. The man who sits and plans for 1 hour with clarity will outperform the man who works 10 hours in distraction. That is the advantage of detachment. You stop running, you start aiming, you stop reacting. You start designing. Time bends in your favor. Resources appear. People listen. Why? Because you have become the rarest kind of man, a man who is clear, calm, and committed. This brings us to another power, the discipline of silence. Most people talk to relieve anxiety. You must talk to convey intention. Do not waste words. Words are currency. Each time you speak, you either build power or drain it. The powerful man speaks like a surgeon uses a scalpel with precision, not panic. Let your silence speak before you do. Let your presence precede your words. And when you speak, make it final. The undisciplined man stutters his way through life, explaining, apologizing, hoping to be liked. The disciplined man needs no approval. He speaks when it is necessary, and because he speaks little, his words carry thunder. You must now begin the habit of command rituals. Each morning you rise early not for productivity but for alignment. You meditate not to be spiritual but to build inner stillness. You write your goals not to fantasize but to clarify. You walk in silence. You read deliberately. You breathe deeply. These are not soft habits. These are weapons. Weapons for the battle of the mind. You do not skip days. You do not excuse failure. You do not wait to feel motivated. Motivation is for the amateur. You are no longer ruled by emotion. You are ruled by decision. You move when it's time to move. And when you don't feel like moving, you move anyway. That is power. That is discipline. That is how wealth is made, not by waiting for luck, but by preparing so thoroughly that luck has no choice but to submit. Let us speak now of autosuggestion, the practice of reprogramming your subconscious through deliberate thought. You are what you repeat. If you wake each day and say, I am focused, calm, and unstoppable, your nervous system will begin to comply. If you feed your mind commands of strength, order, and direction, it will begin to mirror that structure in the world around you. The subconscious cannot resist repetition. What you tell it with emotion becomes law. So detach from the lies of your past and speak truth into your present. Write your affirmations with fire. Speak them with conviction. Feel them with certainty. And soon, your inner belief will harden into external reality. What if I told you that in 90 days, you could become a person who is no longer emotionally reactive, no longer seduced by comfort, no longer ruled by outside forces? What if I told you that the path to wealth was not paved in spreadsheets, networking, or social climbing, but in your ability to wake each day and master yourself? Would you still chase the world? Or would you become so powerful that the world begins to chase you? Look around. The men who build empires are not the loudest. They are not the most popular. They are the most composed, the most disciplined, the most mentally fortified. They feel fear and walk through it. They feel pain and still perform. They hear doubt and still decide. Their detachment is not coldness, it is control. And that control makes them magnetic, because people trust the man who is unmoved. Every time you choose not to react, you gain a layer of power. Every time you delay gratification, you build a reserve of wealth. Every time you speak truth instead of emotion, you fortify your character. And character is the final currency. When everything else collapses, it is character that rebuilds. And when wealth comes to the man of character, it stays. Now, I want you to look in the mirror and ask, am I reacting or responding? Am I chasing or creating? Am I waiting or becoming? Because the truth is, success does not respond to the weak. It does not reward the frantic. It does not visit the emotional. It kneels before the clear, the calm, and the committed. You have 90 days. You have 90 dawns to destroy your need for approval, to master your moods, to become more dangerous than your distractions, not to impress others, not to posture. But because you are ready to become sovereign, you are ready to be trusted with wealth, you are ready to rule yourself. So begin. Begin without fanfare. Begin without public declaration. Begin in silence. Begin with decision. Begin by watching your thoughts. Begin by mastering your mornings. Begin by closing the gates of your mind to all that weakens it. For the man who protects his inner kingdom will never be poor. Now, let us speak of the most dangerous illusion ever sold to man, the belief that emotion equals truth, that what you feel must be honored above what you know, that a moment of discomfort justifies the surrender of your destiny, that because you are angry, you must speak, that because you are afraid, you must retreat, that because you are tired, you must stop. These lies have destroyed more dreams than failure ever could, and they are not just lies, they are chains. Invisible, seductive chains wrapped tightly around the necks of those who never dared to master themselves. But you must break them. You must now install in your mind the law of inner priority. What is urgent is rarely important. What is loud is rarely true. And what screams for your reaction is often the very thing you must ignore. You must learn to delay the impulse, to engage, to withdraw the power of your attention from anything that seeks to enslave your energy. Because attention is power, focus is currency, and wherever you place it, you give life. Place it on your goals, they grow. Place it on your fears, they expand. Place it on your emotions, and your future collapses into a moment you will later regret. The wealthy man does not spend his day in emotional expenditure. He does not waste power explaining, defending, comparing. He uses his mental energy like a sculptor, uses a chisel with precision. You must do the same. You must reserve your emotional capital for creation, not reaction, for building, not battling. Let us define wealth again not as money, but as mental mastery, because when your mind is disciplined, money is inevitable. Success is a side effect. Opportunity is drawn in by the gravity of your control. Wealth is not a destination. It is a byproduct of internal structure, and structure is built in silence, in repetition, in solitude. You are not rewarded for noise. You are rewarded for order. Now let us examine the principle of solitude. The undisciplined man runs from silence, but the disciplined man knows that solitude is sacred. Solitude is where the blueprints of empires are drawn. Solitude is where the weak man breaks and the strong man builds. In solitude, you meet your true self stripped of distraction, ego, and applause. And if you can face that self without flinching, if you can correct him without excuse, elevate him without pride, discipline him without pity, then you are already rich. Detach from the need for constant company. Learn to enjoy your own presence, for only the man who is whole alone can lead others. Only the man who is detached from dependence can make powerful decisions. You cannot lead if you need, and you cannot build if you beg. Now hear this. The world rewards stillness, not struggle. The sea does not yield to the man who thrashes, it yields to the man who flows. The market does not favor the desperate, it favors the disciplined. The mind, the body, the external world, they all respond to the one who is unmoved. That is the secret of detachment. To remain unshaken by both failure and success, by insult and praise, by delay and reward. You are being forged into that man, the rare man who can walk through fire with dry eyes, the man who does not blink when betrayed, who does not shrink when doubted, who does not lose clarity when the world tries to shake his frame. That man cannot be stopped. Because he is not fighting the world, he is commanding himself. Let us now implement the code of self-governance. Write this code and read it daily. I will not react. I will observe. I will not explain. I will execute. I will not complain. I will calibrate. I will not chase. I will attract through discipline. I will not indulge weakness. I will fortify strength. I will not be ruled by feeling. I will rule through structure. This is not a motivational slogan. This is law. And if you live by law, you will rise above chaos. Understand this. The world does not owe you anything. Your childhood pain, your rejections, your failures, they do not entitle you to success, but they do prepare you for it if you use them correctly. And to use pain correctly, you must detach from it, observe it, study it, integrate it, let it burn away your illusions, and carve in their place the character required for greatness. Greatness is not achieved, it is permitted. It is permission granted by the universe to those who have proven mastery over themselves, those who have passed the trials of solitude, silence, rejection, restraint. Every moment you want to quit and don't is a deposit in the account of destiny. Every emotion you silence, every desire you delay, every impulse you control, these are bricks in the palace of power. Lay them daily, without fanfare, without applause. Lay them in the dark. Lay them while others sleep. Lay them when your muscles shake and your mind screams. Lay them because you said you would. and say this to yourself: the next 90 days are not about the world. They are about me. Not about gain, but about growth. Not about performance, but about permanence. Not about proving, but about becoming. If you want to become a man that success chases, become the man who no longer chases success. He attracts it. Through stillness, through silence, through structured, sovereign living. So when the emotion rises, breathe. When the doubt whispers command, when the fear arrives, welcome it with still eyes and a steady hand. You are no longer available for chaos. You are no longer open to weakness. You are no longer bound by emotion. You are detached, disciplined, decided. And because of that, you are dangerous to mediocrity, to confusion, to every part of your old self that once kept you small. The next 90 days are your battleground. Your inner kingdom is your war zone, and your habits are your soldiers. Train them, lead them. Direct them toward a cause that is greater than emotion, greater than comfort, greater than ease, toward the immortal idea of who you were born to be. And that man, the man you are about to become, will not just have wealth, he will embody it. Understand this law. Emotion is a visitor. Thought is a servant. But you are the master. If you forget this, even for a moment, the visitors will throw a feast and burn the house down. The servants will seize the estate and run it to ruin. You must govern your mind with the authority of a king, not with cruelty, but with principle, not with suppression, but with structure. You must give everything in your inner world its place and deny them power unless they serve your purpose. Fear may speak. You will listen, but you will not obey. Doubt may knock. You will answer, but you will not entertain. Anger may rise. You will breathe, but you will not react. Desire may burn. You will observe, but you will not kneel. Because mastery is not the absence of emotion. It is the orderly rule over emotion. Mastery is the daily discipline of filtering your inner world through the lens of your higher aim. And the man who does this for 90 days with intensity and devotion becomes a different species entirely. He becomes a man who no longer negotiates with weakness. He no longer explains strength. He simply is what he decided to be. Now let us speak of time, the great equalizer. Every man has it. Most waste it. Only a few weaponize it. Time, when aligned with discipline, is the most powerful force in the universe. Not inspiration, not motivation, time used with structure, time used with clarity, time used with commitment. That is the alchemy of wealth. You must now schedule your mind, structure your attention, block your focus. The undisciplined man gives his attention to everything and receives nothing in return. But the disciplined man gives his attention to the vital few and receives a fortune. Wake at dawn. Begin in silence. Feed the mind before the body. Create before you consume. Plan your hours. Guard your moments. And do it with the same reverence a general gives to his war map. Let us now speak of pain. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your mirror. When you feel pain, it is not a punishment. It is a message. It is a signal that something must be upgraded in your mindset, your routines, your standards. Do not run from pain. Sit with it. Stare it in the eyes. Translate it into strategy. For every empire has its architect, and pain is the hammer that strikes the foundation until it is strong. The man who avoids pain becomes weak. The man who engages it becomes unbreakable. There is no breakthrough without breakdown. There is no transformation without tension. So stop cursing your discomfort. Use it, mold it, rise through it, and you will come to realize that your pain was not the problem, your perception of it was. You must now harden your character, not your heart, but your code. Character is not built in success, it is built in solitude. In the hour when no one is watching and you still choose excellence. In the moment when you could quit, but you don't. In the silence where the voice of weakness whispers and you choose to disobey. That is where wealth begins, in the hidden decisions that no one applauds. Discipline is not loud, it is consistent. Detachment is not arrogant, it is focused. Mastery is not celebrated, it is forged in private. Let this be your creed. I will not betray my vision to appease my emotion. I will not postpone my standard to indulge my excuses. I will not lower my energy to fit the atmosphere. I will raise the atmosphere by being the standard. You are not here to adapt to mediocrity. You are here to interrupt it. You are not here to win the approval of the world. You are here to rule yourself so profoundly that the world cannot help but respond to your gravity. And so, I give you the final charge. Build your inner fortress, brick by brick, ritual by ritual, morning by morning, choice by choice. Every time you say no to weakness, you lay a stone. Every time you rise early and act with purpose, you lay a stone. Every time you silence emotion and move with thought, you lay a stone. And one day, perhaps soon, you will look around and realize that you no longer live in reaction. You no longer walk in fear. You no longer chase anything. You have become a fortress, and the world, sensing your strength, your stillness, your clarity, will come to you, not to flatter, but to follow. That is wealth. Not in coins, not in crowds, but in command. In the 90 days ahead, if you do as I've instructed, if you train your mind like a soldier, if you detach like a king, if you execute like a machine, you will emerge untouchable. You will no longer fear change because you will have become the cause of change. You will no longer pray for easier roads. You will walk the fire and not be burned. You will no longer wish for wealth. You will breathe in wealth and exhale power. The journey does not begin when you feel ready. It begins when you decide you're done being ruled by weakness. And you have already decided. Now finish it. In silence, in fire, in command. This is the final descent, or rather, ascent into the peak of your own becoming. And let me tell you something you may have long suspected. The moment you become immune to praise, you become free from insult. The moment you stop chasing approval, you begin creating gravity. The moment you stop needing anything outside of yourself, the universe in its strange, silent precision begins to deliver everything you once begged for. Why? Because need repels. But certainty attracts, and certainty is the offspring of inner structure. You must now embrace the final and perhaps most misunderstood law of mastery, the law of inner sufficiency. The man who truly knows himself, who governs himself, who no longer reacts to the pull of vanity or the poison of emotion, becomes a man who needs nothing. And the man who needs nothing controls everything. Why? Because he cannot be bribed, cannot be bought, cannot be moved by flattery or destroyed by criticism. He is rooted, and because he is rooted, others follow. Power flows to those who are grounded not in arrogance, but in internal order. The undisciplined man begs for guidance. He chases every trend, every guru, every whisper of external authority, hoping someone will hand him his power. But you no longer ask. You choose. You no longer search. You create. You no longer chase. You command. Let's speak plainly now. This world does not care about your intentions. It does not reward effort alone. It rewards clarity. It rewards execution. It rewards those who have tamed the wild horses of emotion and harnessed them to pull the chariot of purpose. So I ask you, in this final hour, will you be one of the few who finishes what he starts? Who stays the course, not just through excitement, but through boredom, fatigue, and resistance? Because that is where your real wealth lives, on the other side of resistance, behind the curtain of your discomfort, beneath the surface of what you think you want. If you keep showing up, if you keep detaching from your lower instincts, if you keep building when no one claps, sharpening your mind when no one watches, refining your standards when no one understands, then you will no longer need to announce your power. Your presence will speak it. You will no longer need to sell your vision. People will beg to invest in it. Because wealth, true wealth, is not earned by noise. It is summoned by stillness. And you, through 90 days of relentless mental refinement, will have become still, focused, disciplined, clear, dangerous. And dangerous men do not ask for permission to rise. They rise with quiet mornings and sharp thoughts, with deep breath and wide vision, with no tolerance for emotional interference and no interest in the opinions of the unfocused. They rise through ritual, through internal structure, through silence, through stillness. That is what you are becoming. Not a man of temporary results, but a man of permanent power. A man who can delay gratification without complaint. A man who can withstand temptation without effort. A man who can walk through fire, through insult, through betrayal, and still hold to principle. A man who no longer flinches at difficulty, but sees it for what it is, the proving ground of kingship. You are 90 days away from that man. Not 90 days of dabbling, not 90 days of halfway efforts, but 90 days of radical, sacred, unbreakable inner command. You do not owe the world your explanations. You owe yourself your evolution. You do not owe others your attention. You owe your future, your discipline. You do not owe your past any more of your energy. You owe your destiny everything you have left. And so I say to you, as one voice in the dark speaking to the rising giant in you, take this seriously. Take this personally. Let these 90 days become your revolution. Let them burn away everything soft, everything reactive, everything scattered, everything weak. And what will remain will be unrecognizable, because it will be pure, because it will be decisive, because it will be the man who no longer bows to emotion, to approval, to the seduction of mediocrity. It will be the man who leads not just others, but himself. That man does not wish for wealth. He embodies wealth. That man does not crave peace. He becomes peace. That man does not fear failure. He turns failure into blueprint. That man does not chase love. He radiates it. That man does not react. He responds. That man does not wait. He creates. And the world in its blind chaos will part before him, because the universe itself bows before the one who has mastered the mind. The 90 days begin now. In silence, in focus, in command. Finish it, and never return to the man you once were. For the throne you seek is not a seat. It is not made of gold. It is not offered by kings or granted by crowds. The throne is made of decisions, small, precise, invisible decisions that you will make again and again while the rest of the world sleeps, complains, reacts, and begs for mercy from the very emotions you've already mastered. The throne is built in the silence of early mornings when you train your mind like a weapon. It is built in the discipline of letting go of every opinion, distraction, and attachment that weakens your edge. It is built in your refusal to flinch when others fold, in your refusal to rush when others panic, in your refusal to stop when others sleep. The throne is not a place. It is a frequency. And only those who rise above emotional noise can sit in its vibration. And now you understand. This world was never keeping you from power. You were keeping yourself from it every time you reacted, every time you chased, every time you doubted, every time you bowed to the false gods of comfort, urgency, and approval. But now the veil is torn. And you see it, don't you? That the enemy was never outside of you. The battle was never between you and circumstance. The war was always internal between the version of you who reacts and the version of you who reigns. And you have chosen to reign, not in arrogance, in awareness, not to control others, but to control yourself. Because the man who rules his own attention rules the world. The man who commands his own emotions becomes the calm in every storm. The man who moves without permission becomes the signal in a sea of noise. He no longer seeks validation. He becomes truth. He no longer waits for timing. He becomes time. He no longer chases wealth. He becomes a source of it. You will walk into rooms and say nothing and shift the atmosphere. You will be questioned, but never shaken. Mocked, but never moved. Doubted, but never diminished. Because when a man is built from silence, when he is forged in discipline, when he is detached from the need to be understood, he becomes untouchable. You no longer answer emotion with emotion. You answer it with power. You answer it with a slow breath, a still eye, and a mind that does not beg for relief, only clarity. And this is what will separate you from the masses. You will stop looking for peace in things that steal it. You will stop looking for wealth in the world before you build it in your mind. You will stop reacting to the immaturity of others and start responding like the man they cannot ignore. They will try to provoke you. They will try to distract you. They will try to break your rhythm. But what they won't know, what they'll never understand, is that you are no longer fighting on their level. You've elevated. You've removed yourself from the battlefield of noise. You've ascended to a plane where the real war is won, the war over your own attention, your own focus, your own inner atmosphere. And that is where all wealth begins. Not in the stock market, not in the bank, not in the hands of investors or the favor of crowds, but in the one who owns his mind. And that is you now. Because for 90 days, you gave up excuses. For 90 days, you gave up comfort. For 90 days, you gave up weakness. For 90 days, you said no to who you were and yes to who you were becoming. And now, no one can take it from you. Not because it's protected, but because it's integrated. It is not a performance. It is not a phase. It is who you are. And who you are cannot be shaken by a single moment. You are not built for reaction. You are built for reign. You are not built to wait. You are built to move with precision. You are not built to follow the emotional tides of the day. You are built to command your internal state no matter what the world throws at you. So let them throw. Let them gossip. Let them misunderstand you. Let the winds of resistance howl. You will remain. You will build. You will become. Because this is no longer a trial run. This is your arrival. You've tasted the discipline. You've walked through the fire. You've refused to descend. And now you will rise daily, decisively, eternally, into a life that does not shrink to fit the expectations of others, but expands to fulfill the assignment you were born to complete. They will call you lucky, but they didn't see the discipline. They will call you gifted, but they didn't see the rituals. They will call you chosen, but they didn't see you choosing yourself again and again when no one else did. And that is how it ends. Not with applause, not with celebration, but with the quiet certainty that you have finally become the man you once dreamed of. And from this point forward, you will never again negotiate with the version of you that hesitates. You will never again debate with the voice that doubts. You will never again flinch at the emotion that once ruled your life, because you know now in your bones, in your breath, in your blood, that the man who commands his mind commands the world. Now rise and never come down.